Today, we're about to embark on a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to chat with the head of Blue Diamond Almonds, Mel Machado. Mel is a true leader in his industry with loads of insight into where the almond market is going and how that's going to affect us beekeepers. Now, I'm going to be honest, some of the things that he does talk about in this chat are a little bit troubling for beekeepers, so you're going to want to sit through this entire video.
Okay. I know a lot of beekeepers are really worried about the self-pollinating trees. Is that something that is promising for the future for almond growers, or what are your thoughts?
I've told every bee meeting that I've attended in the last 2 years. Get ground off. It's the last summer I'm driving through here, so I'm seeing these holes on the ground.
Just put it like down here, because I learned that when it's all the way up here, the sound cracks.
Okay. After I side off, it physically decomposes and it's must.
That's cool.
No, I was, I don't know if it's going or not yet. I was actually super interested in this cover crop because I haven't seen very many farmers doing this. So
It's
what
difficult.
is it difficult?
Yeah.
What makes it difficult?
I'll tell you, let me throw that. This one can't hear the one. Let's get a fresh one.
Okay.
Get a fresh one.
So that's a daikon radish.
We'll come down here and park someplace.
And,
Just because we'll come down here and probably won't find one as beautiful as that one is.
For
Okay.
moisture penetration.
Yeah, he's going to get another one.
He'll pull one up.
Got a good one here? Yeah. All right, so cover crops. I'm a believer in cover crops. And for me, the cover crop is all about the bees. And that's what I tell almond growers. Ideally, I would have flowering species in this orchard in the middle of January.
Okay.
So when the bees arrive, they've got pollen load here available for them to bring into the hive and flourish. In advance of the almond bloom. The thing I don't like about cover crops is gophers.
Oh.
I can make hats out of the gophers I catch in this field. I know how to grow gophers. There's a concern with some growers that, well, if the bees are working the cover crop, they're not on my trees. Dead wrong. And I proved that to my stepson this year because I had a wonderful crop on these trees. And I said, hey, Brandon, they obviously worked the trees and weren't worried about the cover crop.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was true. When the bee is done working the trees at the end of the day, after she stripped that day's pollen off, they're going to go looking for something.
Exactly.
I want to anchor them here. Okay, I don't want them going out and getting in trouble somewhere else.
Yep.
In my case, I've got growers on both sides of me that have self-fertile varieties and don't put bees in them. I want to anchor my bees here.
Yep.
So I use this cover crop to help accomplish that. Another fear of cover crops, we know through experimentation that any vegetation on the orchard floor reduces the ability of the soil to absorb sunlight and heat during the day, which we would then radiate back out at night. In other words, vegetation of the crop can increase our susceptibility to frost.
Oh, okay.
So when growers bring that up, I said, look, if you're in a condition where your stage of development of the trees is where you're susceptible and the conditions are starting to chill down, take the cover crop out, terminate it.
Yeah.
Okay, take it out because you've served its main purpose.
Yeah.
To me, the soil health benefits are cool, but that's the gravy. That's the icing. What I'm after is the bees.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, as far as soil health, this is Project Apis M's soil builder mix. It's got daikon, black or yellow mustard, bell beans, and triticale. This is the daikon. It's a radish. These things will get about as big as a Louisville slugger, and yes, you can eat them. It's a radish. I took some home a few weeks ago and I had some fun with them.
What's it taste like?
It's a radish.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, nothing wrong with it. Throw them in a salad. They will get huge. Now, humorous story on my part, I'll take this thing off with a flail mower. I will mow it down literally to a 1/4 inch, grind everything up. So last year I'm driving through the orchard in the middle of summer and there's these holes out there. How about that big around? Like, what's that hole? It's not a gopher. It's not voles. Like, oh, that's where the daikon decomposed, leaving that hole. This is good for water penetration. This is good for breaking up soils.
Okay,
Something like this. The triticale is basically a hybrid wheat. It's got good root structure, but this daikon really opens that ground up. Plus, it's great organic matter on the surface, and it's great forage for the bees.
Yeah, exactly. You said that this did not perform how you were wanting to this year, though. Why is that?
Ideally, I would plant this cover crop at the end of September, first part of October.
Okay.
So harvest timing will determine when you get to plant. This went in, I recall, it was like the 10th of October. It was drilled in. I can irrigate up. I had water. Because of my reservoir, I actually have water for 2 weeks after the district quits delivering. So I can irrigate it up. And you can see these scallops. That sprinkler reached here. It did not reach there. This is native cover. Okay. This area got planted by cover crop. but it didn't survive.
Gotcha.
So you can see if I wouldn't have the ability to irrigate this cover crop up, I would have had a failure.
Yeah.
Okay. Now take that farther. If I am drip irrigation, which is the most efficient way of irrigating, okay, I can't get water out to the seed. That's why you see growers with drip irrigation. The most efficient means of irrigation can't do cover crops. They depend entirely on early rains, and if you don't get them, you don't wind up with a cover crop. It's one of the best examples of a saying that I use a lot in farming. No good deed goes unpunished.
Yep, definitely.
I've got the most efficient irrigation system I can, but I can't do cover crops.
I thought I heard some people say that they're afraid cover crops will steal water from the almonds. Now, I'm a novice when it comes to this stuff, so if a question's dumb,
No, it's a factor. Any plant in the orchard is transpiring water through its roots, out the leaves, and we're losing water. So am I using water here now? Yes. The trees are not. The trees are not going to pull water until those leaves come out. Okay, and those leaves, they transpire the water. They draw the suction, the vacuum within the vascular tissue of the tree, and then pull that water in through the roots. Right now, the water used by the trees is niche. All my water use is here.
Okay.
So yes, but to me at this point, I'm going to use the word negligible. Right now, it's not a concern. 2 weeks ago, actually before my surgery, I augered down to 4 feet. I went actually into the center of the berm and augered down to 4 feet, and I was very surprised. I've only got 8 inches of rain here this year, but I have good moisture all the way down to 4 feet. So I'm not concerned right now. I'm starting to wonder, when's the district going to make water available that I might want to start to think about irrigating? It's the 22nd of February? Within a month. Probably a month before I really get serious about irrigating. Okay.
So you mentioned when water's available. What do you mean by that? Can you explain that?
The irrigation district system canals are all empty now. Okay. They're not releasing water from the reservoirs into the system. So if they're building the reservoir levels up, at some point they'll say, okay, irrigation season starts this day, and they'll charge the canals, and then I can order water.
Oh my! And you have to pay for water every
Yeah, we pay
month?
for water. No, I pay a per acre fee for the right to get the water, and I pay a per acre foot fee for the water I use.
I'm sure it sounds like there's a lot of input costs then for almonds.
Right now, the new data from the university that was just completed here for the northern San Joaquin and the Sacramento Valley to plant an orchard is right at $12,000 an acre. It's huge. This cost me $9,000.
Okay.
This was planted in 2015? No, 27 years ago, whatever that is.
Yeah.
2018. The annual production costs, I'm using $3,800 to $4,200 an acre in variable cost. The cost of all the things, the inputs it takes to produce that crop. That's not debt service. Now, the natural question that's get asked every time I bring that number up is, what's the water? Meaning, what's your water cost? Water cost here, very reasonable. Water cost in the Southern Valley, much higher. Water cost on the west side, totally higher. So what's the water?
Yeah.
That's the big question. And then I know the guys in the Sacramento Valley do not spend that much. Their environment, their soils can't sustain the yields that would recover that cost. So they're spending less. In the Southern San Joaquin, they're going to be at the upper end of that.
Okay. I know a lot of beekeepers are really worried about the self-pollinating trees. Is that something that is promising for the future for almond growers, or what are your thoughts?
I've told every bee meeting that I've attended in the last 2 years, the industry is going self-fertile.
Okay.
It largely went self-fertile because of bees and the cost. It's a major cost per acre.
Yeah.
If you're at $4,000, 10% of your cost is bees. Okay.
Yeah.
There are other reasons why, and some are good, some are bad. You're looking at one and done harvest. Okay, that's kind of nice. Okay?
Yeah.
But everything comes off at one time. Okay. Do you have enough equipment, if everybody planted the same variety, to harvest all that stuff and get it out of the field at the proper timing? A good point, better opportunities for pest management. When I've got multiple varieties out here, sequencing the controls we need for navel orangeworm, our prime pest, is challenging because of the whole split timing of the different varieties. Okay. If I've got one variety across the entire block, that became much easier. And then I look at the cost of harvest. I'm still going to shake every tea. I'm still going to sweep it, but I'm going to only pass through it once with the harvester, the pickup machine, and I'm going to sweep it less, okay, than I would if I had multiple harvests. So you're looking at potentially a savings of $300 to $500 an acre by self-fertiles. That's huge. Now, I've been advocating since self-fertiles became an issue here in the Valley. For crying out loud, put a half a hive per acre onto self-fertile, if for no other reason out of respect for your neighbor.
Yeah.
And if he's a good guy, put him on his side. And it's because we know these bees will drift around. They move. Yeah. And we now have a study that gave us hard data, positive net cash return, up to one hive per acre, depending on the degree of ambient pollination. And ambient pollination, whatever is occurring in nature from the natural wild bees that are out there and what you're scavenging in from the surrounding orchards.
Mm-hmm.
So now we've got proof, and I'm out there campaigning that. You will get your money back with a hive per acre.
Okay, good to know.
There was one other point I wanted to point out that Mel mentioned to us earlier about this cover crop here.
Mhm.
He has taken his mummies, which are the almonds that didn't get picked, didn't fall off the tree when they shook them,
Okay.
and he's blown them into this cover crop, and he's going to come through here with a flail mower,
Yes.
really low to the ground, and destroy those mummies, and thereby kill the navel orangeworms that are nesting in those.
Yeah. Navel orangeworm is our prime pest. Unfortunately, stink bugs and leaf-footed plant bugs are rearing their ugly head. And we've got a new invasive called Carpophilus truncatus that still trying to figure out how bad that might be. The Australians are horrified by it. They have severe problems with it. But with navel orangeworm, the foundation of navel orangeworm management is sanitation. What's that? You don't get all the nuts off the trees at harvest. You'd like to, and you hope to, and sometimes you do. But there's ordinarily a few that are hung up there.
Mm-hmm.
The target is no more than one mummy per tree. What's a mummy? Chuck, can you grab me a mummy there?
No, there's not one here. I'm fine.
Right there. Or right there in front of his toe. There you go. Thank you. This is the mummy. Okay. And actually that's just the hole. The almond fell out of it. We're gonna want to start this over.
You've done such a good job, Mel.
Well, when I blew them around, there we go. Yeah. All right, so mummies, sanitation. Orchard sanitation is the foundation of navel orangeworm management. This mummy is what remained in the trees after harvest. It was stuck in the tree. Okay? Mm-hmm. So we need some rain, we need some fog, ideally this valley fog that we get here, to soften that stem attachment so we can get it out of the tree. The idea with sanitation is get them out of the tree, targeting no more than one mummy per tree.
Yeah.
I target less. I'd like to have no more than a half a mummy per tree, or one for every 2 trees. Get it on the ground, get it into a windrow, as if we were going to harvest it. But now we bring that flail mower in, literally a 1/4 inch off the ground, and destroy this. Because now there may not be one in here, but typically inside of this mummy, you will find a navel orangeworm. And what I have in here is a moldy nut. Oh, no, there was one there.
So what are you seeing to say that there was one there?
What I'm seeing is residue.
Oh.
A little cocoonish.
She may have come out already with these temperatures. We get most of them coming out first part to the middle of April. But there was one in there. And that you think of that as a navel orangeworm hotel. I have personally seen as many as 10 worms in a nut.
Wow.
Now, it was a Monterey nut. Monterey's are big. It's the only one that had room enough for 10 worms.
Yeah.
But I've seen as many as 10 worms per nut. So we want to get that out and destroy it.
Mm-hmm.
So, like in my case, I had surgery coming up. That's why I'm hobbling around today. And wasn't sure when I'd get back on the tractor. So I came out and I blew mummies. Typically, you'll do this and you're not worried about a cover crop. I want the cover crop. My thinking is blow the mummies into the cover crop because the increased moisture and humidity in here will increase mortality of that worm. Unfortunately, my cover crop, this was several weeks ago, was still fairly short. And I was blowing through. I couldn't stop blowing through the next row's cover crop. So I'm driving on, well, you're going to wind up blowing this again, but that's okay. The cover crop will be higher. What I'll do here when I get back in the tractor, I'll blow those mummies again, get them into the cover crop, drop the blower, hook up the mower, and I'll come through and grind those up. What I'm doing is reducing the amount of inoculum that is going to be in this orchard to emerge, mate, fly, and lay eggs on my next crop.
I like that. That's trying to find other ways than just using your normal pesticides.
Yeah. Well, and with navel orangeworm, you can't spray your way out of a problem.
Why not?
There's too much inoculum out there. In fact, this past year, if it would not be for the 23 crop, 24 would have been the worst quality year in many decades.
Yeah.
Largely because of navel orangeworm, but plant bugs, stink bugs have created additional problems. That's a whole different critter and it's a whole different means of control. But this year, I know we've had significant damage because of neighborhoods. People are not in good economic condition. They couldn't afford to do everything. Yeah. And I tell them, yes, you can. I can prove it. But these moths will fly for 2 miles. So the guys over that bluff are affecting me. Yeah. I'm affecting the guy 2 miles downwind of me. So it all plays together. Neighborhood issues are definitely a problem.
So what are your guys' struggle in the almond industry?
Pick one.
Really? Same as the bees, pretty much?
Well, you've got the economic issues.
Yeah.
prices were very low. Our worst problem is low pricing here because of all the economic calamities in the last few years. Prices have been below the cost of production.
Yeah.
Pest management challenges. We don't know where things are going with the tariffs. We export about 80% of this crop. Okay, so almond growers are all about free trade.
Yep, definitely.
So yeah, just as I say, problem, pick one. I can talk about it.
Definitely. Okay. Well, any other questions?
So where do you ship most of your almonds to across the world? Like, what's the biggest country?
The U.S. is the single biggest user. In export, it's India.
India.
The single biggest region will be Europe, if I recall correctly. India is a big user. Yeah.
Are there a couple other regions that are producing almonds?
They're all Mediterranean climates.
Okay.
So Spain, Portugal, all the Mediterranean countries, and in Chile and South America. But we have growers here that are bigger than Chile and several of those countries. Australia. I think there's only 5 Mediterranean climates on the planet. Australia has been producing, but they have as many environmental, economic issues as we do.
Yeah.
Spain and Portugal. Portugal has the advantage of the largest reservoir system in Europe, the Alcava Dam project, but they also have their limits as well. So the biggest threat facing the California almond grower looks out of the mirror every morning when it shaves. It's here. We're our biggest problem.
So have you heard about the bee collapse that's been happening?
I have heard.
What have you been hearing? What's your opinion on it? What are you seeing?
First of all, I have to acknowledge that we are a lagging indicator on a lot of things that go on. While typically in past years, if a grower came up short of bees, my phone would ring because they know that we collect business cards for beekeepers. They might have stuff available. Yeah. I've not had a call myself. My staff has just had a handful of calls. That's unusual. Okay, given what I know is going on out there in the beekeeping community. What I hear, and I've not seen with my own eyes, but what I hear, and I trust the people that are talking, is significant losses coming out of the winter and trying to move into California's orchards, 25 to 75%. Yeah. I need to go back and analyze Project APISM's survey results that they published. I know there's a webinar coming up. Yeah. So yeah, we may get through this, but I think we're going to get through this okay. We're at peak bloom here. People are asking me, how bad? I don't know. Yeah. Now, I'm willing to bet that I'll get calls a month from now saying, well, I couldn't get bees. Why didn't you say something? So we're the lagging indicator, unfortunately. But I'm very concerned about what it could possibly lead to down the road next bloom. Yeah,
I thought you said that you're more worried about. Right now, you're seeing that it's probably going to be okay, even with the bee shortage. It's like you said, the next year, and then also you were talking about the weather and then the bloom, how it was peaking, and time of that.
Well, I want to reiterate here. When I say it's probably going to be okay, I know there's guys that are really experiencing some horror stories in the beekeeping community, in the bee brokerage world. Yeah, there's no way to deny that. When I say we're going to be okay, I have no indication of, at this point, a major issue within the almond community.
Okay, that's good.
But I know. A month from now, I'm going to hear I couldn't get bees. Okay. Looking forward, as the bees come out of almonds, supposedly in such good shape, that's why they come here. Yeah. What are they going to be able to do as they move into other crops or go back home? What's their future for the next 10 months, 9 months? And they go back into winter storage in the winter cluster. What are they going to look like coming out? Yeah. 11 months from now, coming back to California. That's the concern I have. I just don't know.
Yeah, definitely. All right. Well. Anybody else have any thoughts or questions that they wanted to add to the conversation?
What have you seen as an increase in the price for almonds? I mean, they've burned through the carryover.
Burned through the carryout, yeah. Now keep in mind, we've been producing record crops on mediocre yields. Acreage drove it.
Yes.
The acreage drove it. Everybody planted. Investors came in, investor groups, individual investors. Paid, in a lot of cases, way too much money for the land in areas with questionable water. And they're having problems. The numbers don't work. So acreage will decline, water pressures, Sustainable Groundwater Management Act regulations, all of those things. In the last 2 years, the return to the grower has basically been below the cost of production. Okay. And so things have turned around, but there are guys out there I know that have a $3.50 a pound break even. Okay. That's not going to come back that high. Okay. Unfortunately, my growers need a $3.50 a pound just to cover the last 2 years' losses.
Right.
That's
and we're sitting where at now?
Well, nobody knows. We've received the 24 crop. We'll be marketed for the next 6-8 months. What I've been telling growers, I'm hoping we could get it above 220 a pound, above the 220s average. And I have to be conservative. Okay?
Yes.
I'm privately hoping for more, but I don't know. Okay. This crop, I've called this crop questionable since September because of the stresses the trees were in last summer.
So based on that questionable crop and not stellar price, there's probably no margin for the decrease or an increase in pollination fees, then, is there?
At this point, no. I don't see wildly fantastic prices that almond growers dream of coming back. Because one issue is, can the consumer economy be robust enough to where the housewife can afford to buy it? Ultimately, somebody's going to have to buy that product. And they're making choices. We know this in the grocery store. They're making choices on the fly of what they're going to buy. You go to the cash register. It's stunning to see some of the prices. I ask growers, do you go shopping with your wife? I don't go anywhere with my wife. It's the typical answer. You go grocery shopping with your wife. It's stunning.
Really?
And people are making decisions on the fly of what they're going to buy. So can the consumer afford to buy it?
Well, I want to point out the key here is that a lot of people think there's more opportunity here. Since we're short on bees, there's going to be a big price increase. And as I see it from the outside, there's no more money to be had. So we're going to be at the top of the peak for the bees as well as the almonds right now.
This horse is weak.
Yeah.
As Randy put it, the bubble has burst.
Yes, this horse is weak. I had a thought and I lost it. That thought bubble popped. But yeah, this horse is weak. Yeah. Things are looking brighter. I tell growers the light on the horizon is brighter. I don't want to talk about the tunnel. The light on the horizon is brighter. But that being said, these guys with really high costs, it's not there. I don't know what they're going to do. We've already heard of guys saying, that's it, I'm done. I'm 67 years old. I'm not going back to the bank. I'm going to sell that 30 or 40 if they've got multiple parcels. All right, I've got several cases where banks are starting to call money in.
I know 2 or 3 years ago I was talking to people, and land prices with mature almonds on them were in the $35,000 range.
40.
Okay. So where are they today?
The last I saw, good orchards with decent water were not around here. We're in the low 30s to mid 30s. Around here, in Stanislaus County, parts of San Joaquin County, we have an artificially inflated world here, too close to the bay. And somebody can sell their mega mansion in Piedmont, in Livermore, wherever, come out here, buy 40 acres, rip an acre out of the middle of it, put a house in it, call it a home site, and lease it back to the guy they bought it from. So we are artificially inflated here. It's a little different.
But prices are still high.
Prices are still high.
And is that just in this area, or is that?
No, all around. The big question would be, what's the water? The first question the bank's going to ask is, what's your water? One source, two sources. They want to know. They typically won't finance one source water.
Wow.
Yeah.
Well, anything else?
I just want to say you have an absolutely beautiful place out here.
Oh,
Yeah,
yes. It's gorgeous.
That's as loud as it gets here.
It's nice. You can hear the birds.
The loudest thing I hear is my ears ringing, which are in the same frequency as a Ford 8000. And I hated that tractor. And it lives with me every day. And I read somewhere that hearing is the last sense you lose, right up to death. So with the lights out, I'm still going to hear that damn Ford 8000.
Let me give you a little bit of personal tip. I've been deaf for over 10 years now. Yeah. And from explosives, playing with things I shouldn't, to go boom, boom. And the tinnitus was a major problem. Hearing correction actually helped that quite a bit. So
I hear it right now. It's the loudest thing I hear.
Crickets were so loud, it was disgusting. I'm telling you, go to your local hearing aid store and let them test you. It won't cost you anything, and what you learn may change your life.
Well, I've wondered, knowing acoustics, if there's, I'll say, a reciprocal frequency that they could use to deaden that.
No, what actually happens is really interesting. You've lost hearing in that particular frequency, and your brain is reaching out for anything in that and amplifying it more than you can imagine. My tinnitus, if you will, seems to come back after I take my hearing aids out for a day or two, because my brain starts to search for noise, just like you in a dark room. What was that?
Okay.
Your brain is doing that at a level you don't even comprehend.
Okay, makes sense.
When they first tested me, the lady, she fitted me, and these are frequency specific, so they only amplify certain frequencies. She had a set of keys there, and she had a nervous twitch. She picked that set of keys up and dropped it that far onto the table, and you'd have thought she shot me. My ears, I mean, it was the worst noise I'd ever heard in my life. Tears started running down my face from the shock to my brain, because I'd never heard that sound. Well, it'd been 10 or 15 years before I could hear, since I could hear like that. That was a whoa.
That's freaky. Don't ever do that again.
Yeah.
No, definitely not.
Thank you, Mel, for taking the time out of your day to chat with us. In regards to other news, there have been a couple new updates that have been coming out in the beekeeping industry. One of those things involving ELAP. So ELAP is an emergency livestock assistance program that beekeepers are able to apply for to help them in times of emergencies like now. Well, all of the funds were put on hold around 2 or 3 weeks ago, and there has been a new recent update regarding all of those funds. So I'll be hopping on a live chat on Tuesday, March 17th to talk with an expert on ELAP and some of the new updates that have happened. So if you have any questions, you're not going to want to miss it. It will be starting at noon Central Time or 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So be there, be square, and I'll see you guys in the next one. Don't quit and be fit.